Sir, in all the explanations, all the answers, uh, I think the common thing is to have a right direction,
Yes.
right objective. So, first question is what type of questions I should ask myself to know my present status and to know the right direction which should I should have. Number one point. Number 2 point, you have given in one of the questions responding to Swati that be associate with the good books, read good books, and that will be your the catalyst. That will be your support and friends, which will direct you to the right direction. So, I mean, asking the right questions to know the present status of myself and to know where I want to go for. Is there any questions which I can ask myself? And other than books, which is the correct, you can say, medium to achieve, to know that things, to know the right direction? And if there are books, which books you recommend?
Right. The first question first. How do I know of the reality of my inner state? One has to ask, to what extent is my life pre programmed? To what extent is my life routine driven? One good way to assess that is, if I want to drop my ways today, do I have the freedom? There might be things one might be calling as his routines or patterns or choices. One says, oh, I do this because it is in my routine. I do this because I am patterned or conditioned to do this. Equally, one says, oh, there is this thing in my life because I chose it. There, a useful question to ask is, do you even have the freedom to unchoose? If you really chose it, because choosing boasts of the presence of freedom. When you say you are the chooser, right? You are bragging of freedom. I have the freedom to choose. But if you really have the freedom to choose, you must also have the freedom to unchoose. So ask yourself, today, if I want to unchoose, can I? If I want to not follow the patterns that I do, can I? If I do not want to live the life that I do, can I? Then it suddenly becomes obvious what kinds of bondages and obligations and debts one is carrying. Then the fact of slavery shows up in a very open and brutal way. Because you see, the mind likes comfort. The mind does not want to remain attentive, alert, and working, conscious. Now, the mind wants rest. That is fine. But the deceptiveness of the mind is such that it starts taking rest even at places where there is really no rest. Like telling yourself in the middle of the journey that the home has arrived and snoring away on the pavement, having convinced yourself that this is the home, whereas that is not really the home. You just want to sleep, and one is not honest enough to admit that one is yielding to his desires and just taking a temporary nap. right? So that's it. We convince ourselves that things are all right in our lives. And then if someone says one needs to improve, one is caught in an absurd situation. But how do I improve if I do not know what is wrong or missing in my life? One has to figure that out. One has to challenge his comforts. One has to ask, what if I do not have what I have? Who am I then? Right? To what extent am I dependent on my savings or my money or my prestige? If I do certain things, are my relationships going to accept that? And if they don't, why do I claim freedom in relationships? Then are they really relationships in freedom, or are they things to enshackle me? A fellow says, I'm free. The question he must ask himself is, are you free, or are you free within conditions? Are you free within boundaries? Even a prisoner is free within boundaries, no? And the fact of one's captivity is exposed only when one tries to challenge the boundaries. So find out what your boundaries are and try challenging them. And then you will discover the extent of your bondages. It would not be good, it would not be comfortable, because one is just shaken out of his comfortable sleep. One had been assuming that the task has been done, and suddenly it is revealed that the task, the majority of it, is still very much pending. So that's not a happy realization to have. But realization is important even if it is not happy. So that's what. Discover your boundaries, discover your obligations, discover where you do not have freedom, and that will tell you the way to go. Now the second part, or is there something? Yes.
This point only, just a more clarification. So when I think of boundaries and breaking of, thinking of boundaries and breaking those boundaries looks like very impossible task. Whatever boundaries I have made through my mind or through my daily routines or daily performance, challenging them itself becomes a sense of fear and sense of coming to default and all those things.
No, you don't have to do it all at once. If you're really sincere about freedom, you won't want to do something that takes away your capacity to challenge slavery. You don't want to rush into it and be defeated so soundly that you are never able to attempt it again. You don't want to do that. So there is no need to be afraid. There is no need to attain quick martyrdom. Do it incrementally. There must be something that you can currently challenge. Begin there. Right? And with every success, you will find that your capacity to succeed even more increases. That's why it's important to have a series of successes. That's why it is important to be discreet about the battle you choose. Do not choose impossible battles right in the beginning. Remember who you are, remember your current situation, and start from there, right? uh, mm, Pick up a winnable target. What is a winnable target? That is just beyond the limits of your perceived strengths. A good target is that which appears just a little impossible to win, just a little. It should challenge you, it should bring out whatever you have stored in your depths, the unknown energy that you have. The right target should be able to summon it. Start from there, win your early battles, or at least many of them, most of them, and find yourself capable of taking up bigger challenges.
Yes, sir. What type of this is well taken, sir. What type of books we should read? I mean, because reading Upanishad and even Gita, even Ramcharitmanas, I mean, understanding becomes very poor, and those high words, high adjectives goes bouncers.
There are these books called Prakaran Granth of Vedant. Hmm? They are the preparatory books. There you don't have to worry about the complexities in words and the terseness of expression. They are written especially as introductory texts for beginners. So Acharya Shankar wrote many of them. You might begin with Atmabodh, Tattvabodh, and Vivek Chudamani. These are written for students, so by very design, they are not complex. They are lucid. They hold your hand and take you through the Vedantic spectrum. And then there are so many, just so many other books. You could start with you know, Zen koans, Zen flesh, Zen bones, Paul Reps. Some of the Sufi stories are quite interesting and very, very rich when explored to their depths. Stories by Idris Shah. Huh? So, and once the Vedantic foundation is there, it's then that you must approach other texts, be it Ramayana, Mahabharata, or the Puranic literature. Those books must not be approached before one has fundamental clarity. Vedanta is the ABC of spirituality. If the very alphabet is not clear, how can one read stories? And yeah.
Thank you, sir.